Good afternoon. I'm Bill Gravel, Williamson County Judge, and we wanted to be able to give you an update on the disaster recovery efforts here in Williamson County. And listen, today we've got a lot of resources on the ground in Williamson County to help us be successful. First, I want to introduce to you Tim Dell, who works for Austin Disaster Relief Network. They have been phenomenal at meeting the needs of our residents that have come through, that have had needs. Just yesterday, I had the opportunity to see a lady who gave me a hug and said, "Judge, thank you for the letter." And what we've been doing the last couple of days is our constable deputies, led by our constables that are behind us, and their staff literally have been going door to door in the eastern part of Williamson County, delivering letters from myself, the constable, and from County Commissioner Russ Bowles. And this lady showed up yesterday and said, "Judge, I got my letter at the door, so I just came here to see if I could get a little help." She said, "But we didn't really have a lot of damage at our house, and our neighbor's damage was a lot more." And by the way, that's been the one consistent thing that I've heard the last 7 or 8 days. Everybody else has it worse than me. And I said, "Well, how's your home?" And she said, "My home is okay." She said, "Our carport collapsed and our barn collapsed, and the paint went all over our new cars, and our RV was rolling out the back pasture. But Judge, our home isn't bad. We're good." And I thought, you know, she suffered great loss just like everyone else has. We, in Williamson County, through today, we know of at least 1,100 structures that have been damaged. Even as we're speaking, there are assessments continuing to go on. Every day we find more properties and more that has been damaged. But I want Tim first to talk about the Austin Disaster Relief Network and our Mark Center here that will be open until 6 o'clock tonight. And then we do have a representative here from the Texas Department of Emergency Management, and we do have a representative from FEMA as well that is en route. But just to be clear, our FEMA partners, our Texas Department of Emergency Management partners, and representatives from the Small Business Administration literally are on the ground right now in Williamson County doing assessments. So one will be coming in from the field from that. But first we want to hear from Tim from the Disaster Relief Network and the good work that they're doing here and all across Williamson County.
Thank you, Judge. So once again, my name is Tim Dale. I'm with the Austin Disaster Relief Network. Its acronym is ADRN. So ADRN is a network of over 200 churches in the 5-county region around Austin, and Williamson County is part of our area that we cover. We have numerous churches within Williamson County. One of the key things that Austin Disaster Relief Network does is we provide emotional spiritual care. So that's what we've been doing last week in Round Rock, and then this week here at the Taylor Mark is providing emotional spiritual care, listening to people talk, tell their stories to get that out. And we're also providing some additional resources to them. So that is what we are focused on here, is providing that care. If I can just go ahead and talk about some of the needs we have. We work on long-term recovery also. So from what we understand and the numbers that we're hearing, it's, it could be $2 million roughly about, the damages that are out there and the monies that are needed for repair and rebuild moving forward. So there's one thing that we are working on and asking for donations. Can go up to our website, adrn.org. If anybody wants to contribute some finances to help with that recovery and rebuild. And one of our goals is to connect each of these survivors that has requested it with a member of our local church that has been trained specifically on how to walk forward with a survivor of a disaster. We call those shepherds. And through the shepherd program, any funds that are raised that we can get those into the hands of the survivors and help them with the rebuild and recovery long term. So that is what I have to say. I can take questions if anybody has one. Or we can wait till later. So thank you.
Again, I want to say thank you to the Austin Disaster Relief Network. They've been phenomenal. Listen, I believe that if it would not have been for our faith community here in Williamson County and the hard work that they did Saturday in removing tons and tons of debris, our residents wouldn't be where they're at today. There are many groups that have participated and that have helped. In fact, the requests have been so many, it's hard to answer the phone and do the job because of the number of folks that are wanting to call and volunteer. I do have a request today that was just handed to me by the American Red Cross, which is providing services here at the Mark in Taylor. They're kind of simple requests, but often people are going, Judge, what can I do today? What can I do right now? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Here, for the Red Cross that is here, the current needs that they have is for paper products and toiletry products. Today, they're running low on those today, and simple things like Advil and Tylenol, they're running low on today. So if you're in the Taylor area and you would make a swing through one of the local stores and pick that up, you can come here to the Williamson County Expo Center and just drop those off out front. And that would be just an immediate need that we could meet today. So we're grateful not only for the ones that you've heard from today, but on the other side of this wall, there are folks that are meeting one-on-one with individuals that are just really struggling today. I want to introduce Bruce to you. Bruce is the regional director from the Texas Department of Emergency Management. But I again want to reiterate that the first phone call that I received the night of the tornado, or the night of the tornadoes, was from our governor, Greg Abbott. And not too long after that, Governor Abbott was here in Williamson County. And from the very first moment, even till now, the governor's been very forward-leaning in putting the team on the ground here in Williamson County to help us. Even as we're speaking, I left a team of 2 TDM personnel that were in Round Rock doing on-the-ground assessments. So we're really grateful to the Texas Department of Emergency Management, and I'm really grateful for Bruce being here today. He has a statement he can share with you and update you a little bit on their work here in Williamson County. Then following that, I would love to tell you the story about one of our residents who's 91 years of age who survived this tornado. It's an amazing story. Bruce?
Thank you, Judge. Again, I'm Bruce Clements. I'm a section chief with the Texas Division of Emergency Management. I'd first like to start out by thanking our local partners for all the outstanding work that they've been doing, and now FEMA is joining that as well. So thank you to our local and our federal partners for all the work that they're doing in helping us get through this initial damage assessment. That assessment started as soon as it was safe for us to get folks out on the road, and it's been going ever since. We do still encourage people to report damages. If you have damages to any of your property, you can go online at damage.tdim.texas.gov, and you can report that damage online. It's really essential that we get all of the details of all of the damage so that FEMA has the full picture, and it can really maximize our opportunities to get additional support in. So please report the damages that you have. And again, we're going to be here till this is all finished, and we do want to thank those, especially Judge, you and your folks, for all the great work that's going on the ground. And the media, thank you for getting the message out quickly. The night that this happened, you saved lives. And thank you for continuing to get this important information out as people start to recover. So thank you very much.
I also want to remind our residents that if you have a home or a property that has received damage and you're needing help in debris removal, one of the resources that Williamson County is able to help you with is getting you a voucher to the landfill, so at least when you go to the landfill, that cost would be covered for you, or possibly helping you with a roll-off dumpster in your area where the damage has occurred. If you are a resident of Williamson County and you live in an affected area in the unincorporated part of Williamson County, I would encourage you to reach out to Constable Paul Liao in Williamson County Precinct 4. Constable Paul Liao's office is managing and handling those vouchers. I want to say before we go that this last week, our residents in Williamson County have suffered great loss. There are some family members that we have met that have lost everything. and that our heart and our thoughts and our prayers are with you. And we in county government, along with the city of Round Rock, the city of Hutto, the city of Taylor, the city of Georgetown, the city of Granger, and all of our cities where damage might have occurred, we're working as quickly as we can to bring the right resources to you. But I want to talk to you in closing about one guy that really stood out to me because it's just an amazing story. There's a gentleman by the name of Frank Zubach, and Frank is 91 years of age. He lived in the Granger area, and all he wanted was to be independent and take care of himself. Frank was living in an RV by some family members in close proximity for good reason. And during the tornado, that RV was picked up with Frank in it and was transported quite a ways. What's amazing, though, is that immediately the neighbors, once the storm had passed, they were there to render aid, and our Williamson County EMS has been there was there to transport him. And in fact, Frank was seriously injured in the storm and has had multiple surgeries and medical procedures. But today, at 91 years of age, he was released from the hospital. Now, Frank will be going to a rehab facility, to deal with the injuries that he suffered. But it's just a wonderful story about one of our Eastern Williamson County men with a lot of grit and neighbors with a lot of compassion, and constable and sheriff deputies that moved swiftly, and ambulances that moved aggressively, and hospitals that worked faithfully that saved the life of this one man. And we're grateful because in Williamson County we have over 609,000 residents. In the last 2 weeks we have kind of pulled up our bootstraps together to work together to protect and to save each other and to save our communities. And I want to say to the Austin area, thank you for your amazing response. The people of Central Texas have responded well, but I just want to remind you that there are at least 1,200 different structures that have suffered damage and families that are struggling on how to get up on their feet. The recovery as far as removing the debris was the easy part, but now the hard work and the heavy lifting begins as we help our residents who have lost everything find some dignity and find what little they have left and begin the process of rebuilding. I'm very grateful for TDEM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, for being here. I'm very grateful that we have our FEMA friends on the ground doing assessments as we speak. I think those assessments will take days to accomplish. So I'm really grateful that at the federal level they've sent down the Small Business Administration to begin doing the assessments as well. And so we're really thankful for that. And I think at this time, if you have, one or two questions or three questions, we'll certainly be willing to answer those.
I got a question, this may be for Bruce. Dealing with FEMA, do you know what exactly the threshold is for FEMA to give federal aid to the area?
Yes, actually, that's a specific number. Oh, I'm sorry. And actually, there is a specific number for that. I don't have the. I want to make sure that I get it right. So I don't have that specific number off the top of my head, but I can get that number for you, and as soon as this is over, I can give it to you.
What is it generally? I mean, is there a certain formula that you normally go by? Or?
Yes, there's different thresholds. There's a local threshold, based on per capita in each county, and then there's also a state threshold. And the statewide threshold is in the tens of millions of dollars. And again, I'll get you the specific number after this is over. But that number is the number that we need to meet in terms of uninsured losses in order for FEMA to turn on additional aid.
And when you say additional aid from FEMA, what is it that people could get if you meet that threshold? Tell us how it could change their lives.
There are a couple of different programs, and I really need to leave that to FEMA to describe their programs and answer those questions and go into those details. But there's an individual assistance program which provides some aid to local residents. There's also a public assistance program which can be used for funding the rebuild of public facilities, libraries and schools and things like that. So, but I need to leave those details to FEMA to answer for you.
Do you know if they will be here, just to kind of walk us through the process, because I think a lot of viewers.
Yeah, he's in the room.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and could I just add one thing to what Bruce shared? I met for the first time with officials from the Small Business Administration, which is a completely separate federal organization that has a completely different criteria for damage assessment. I learned today that the Small Business Administration, to your point, they offer very low interest loans to residents that are underinsured and uninsured and businesses to help them get back up on their feet. But the truth is it has to meet that criteria for damage assessment with the Small Business Administration, which has a different criteria than FEMA. And I know they're en route, guys. I know you're going to be surprised when I tell you that a peace officer was bringing them over here, and in the process of coming over here, they encountered a traffic accident and had to stop as a peace officer and render aid. So we're dealing with a lot of things in Williamson County. Other questions?
What about is anybody issuing housing vouchers? People that don't have a place to live?
You know, I've got to tell you, between the Mark Center here, ADR, and our area churches, they've been very much the first people to step up and fill that gap. I know of a specific instance in Round Rock of a mom with a new 7-week-old. Their home was severely damaged. Her husband was a cross-country truck driver, and immediately one of the churches stepped in and provided her an Airbnb for 7 nights. And in fact, the only room in their home that didn't have the ceiling damaged or destroyed was the nursery. And they were able to take all of the items out of the nursery and put those in the Airbnb. But that is one of many, many different needs that have been met in our area for temporary housing.
When people are thinking, how can I help? Obviously, the cleanup, you said, went by quickly, and that was the easiest part. But people are sitting at home. They know this is ongoing. Know we have people that are displaced. Where can they look to find, this is what we need, this is what we're looking for, that they might say, oh, I had some of that, or I can pick some of that up? Where can they look to help fulfill some of the needs that these people have?
Well, so I have to tell you, the Austin Area Disaster Relief Network has a website, and I would really encourage folks to look at their website. They can sign up there to volunteer. They can sign up there for financial donations or see what needs are necessary. I would also encourage folks, too, to look at their own local church website. There are local churches that are stepping up, filling the gap with those needs. In fact, there was a meeting this morning of Austin Disaster Relief Network and all of the area churches where they were literally handing out the work vouchers that were needed for residents across the county, just helping meet those basic needs. So I would reach out to my area church and area congregation, and I just, the greatest need that our residents have that are suffering is going to be financial assistance in the days ahead. I'm grateful for FEMA, and I'm grateful for TEDM and for the Small Business Administration, but the reality is people have needs today, and those organizations will be good for us long term, but meeting those immediate needs is pretty important and pretty significant. And so I know you have a couple FEMA questions, but just remember he just walked in the room, and you're going to be nice to him with those questions. This guy's been out in the field with us today, surveying damage, and FEMA's on the ground. And Ben, thank you so much, brother, for being here. They've got a couple questions for you that neither one of us wanted to answer, so we'll let you. I think he has a statement to read, then maybe he has a time for 1 or 2 questions as well.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Ben Akers. I didn't have a statement prepared, but as the judge mentioned, we've been doing some preliminary damage assessments across Williamson County with our state and local partners, coordinating with our emergency managers and verifying some damages that were provided by the county and our municipal leaders. We're going door to door, speaking with some individuals about the extent of their damages, uploading that information into a statewide system, and then the governor of Texas will utilize that information to determine the need, potential need for federal resources to supplement state and local resources in our recovery from these tornadoes.
Well, what is that threshold that the state will have to meet in order to get these resources for people?
So there's no black and white answer to that question. We look at a variety of different factors. Obviously, the number of substantially damaged homes is a primary factor, but there's no one number because what we have to do is parcel that out into the uninsured and insured damages that are incurred. So it's very important to understand that FEMA cannot duplicate insurance benefits that are paid out on the private market. So we have to look and work with our Texas Department of Insurance and our state partners to determine how many of these substantially damaged or completely damaged homes are underinsured or uninsured.
And how critical is it for people to get this aid? How can it help them recover?
Well, it can certainly help, and I want to preface this statement by saying that FEMA is only one piece of the recovery puzzle. I'm aware that the American Red Cross and our nonprofit organizations and voluntary agency liaisons are also out in the field helping put blue tarps on roofs, ensure that there's not additional damage incurred to these properties. But certainly FEMA is here to determine the need, and if there is a need for federal support, and that is validated by both the state of Texas and by the White House, then we will be here in the long run to support. But that is, we are too early in the too early days to tell whether or not that will be the case.
I guess we're trying to get like specifics, like you come in with low interest loans, or you come in with like grants, or what is it people would be getting?
So I appreciate you asking that question. We also have the U.S. Small Business Administration here, which does provide low interest disaster loans to both businesses and to homeowners. And so the declaration process for the SBA is a little bit different from FEMA. They have lower thresholds for providing assistance. I would let one of my colleagues with the SBA answer those questions, and we can refer those questions to you after this event. But for FEMA's programs, should there be a declaration, they would come in the form of individual assistance grants to families that are they don't need to be repaid. There's no interest incurred. They are grants to survivors that meet certain eligibility thresholds. But just to be clear, the preliminary damage assessments that are being conducted today in Williamson County and in other counties across the state are the first step in declaring a disaster, the first step in dictating whether or not it's necessary that federal support be provided to the state of Texas.
I know you can't give specifics, but what is the general timeline for people seeing this aid come, if it comes?
Commonly, we see a declaration made within the first 30 to 60 days of a disaster. And there's some give or take on both sides of that. It can be sooner, it can be later. But we're working as quickly as possible and appreciate the public's patience in this process as we go door to door, as we take photographs of the damaged dwellings and upload them into our system statewide to look at a comprehensive picture.
So, and then after that 30 to 60 days, then what happens after then? You're meeting with state officials, and what's the timeline of when people would get money?
Well, should there be a declaration, there are programs that are activated immediately, but I would prefer not to get into the specifics of those programs until we know a little bit more about the extent of damage across the state.
And I know that this is kind of minutia, so sorry.
That's okay.
But how long do you typically spend at each home? We're trying to get an idea of the process and what you're doing.
So today we were in Round Rock, and we'll be across Williamson County for the rest of the week, but we've been going door to door. If there's nobody immediately available to speak, we can take photographs of the front and back or side of the buildings wherever we have access to without intruding onto private property, and that will suffice. If we're able to get one of our programs turned on, then we get in touch with families that apply for FEMA assistance, and we gather more information on the internal damages as well as the external damages to their home.
So it's just a lot of external pictures?
At the moment, it's a lot of external damage validation and assessment.
Can you give us your name again and spell it for us?
Yeah, this is Ben Akers, A-K-E-R-S, and I work for FEMA Region 6 in External Affairs.
What kind of response have you been getting from homeowners?
Positive. Actually, just this morning, we were able to speak to several homeowners out in the front yards, and they were very appreciative of the resources that have been made available to them by the nonprofit organizations in the area. We noted how successful the entire neighborhood has been in putting on blue roofs to their homes. It's very important to mitigate against future damages should we have additional rainfall in the coming days to cover up any damages temporarily until we can look at having contractors come into the area and do long-term support.
Is there a process that people can do at home right now when it comes to online and applications in order to get on a list with FEMA?
I would recommend, there's no list with FEMA as of now, but I would recommend reaching out to your local emergency management department to submit any estimates for damages that you have to your home to indicate the damage level to your home, whether it's severe, moderate, or if there are no damages at all. That's also helpful. And so that's the first step. Disasters are locally managed, state supported, and federally funded. And it's very important to start from the ground up, work with your local officials, work with your county judge, and make sure they have all the information they need to move forward.
What happens if the family has an insurance, a home insurance? Is this different with the help that
That's
you get?
another great question. As I mentioned earlier, FEMA assistance cannot be duplicative of insurance that is paid out on the private market. So the first step certainly is to apply with your insurance company to file a claim and work through that process, because if FEMA is able to provide individual assistance grants, we would need to compare them to the assistance that was provided through the private market as well.
So if somebody has insurance, they can still get FEMA help?
They can if their insurance, if they are qualified as underinsured. So if the damages to their home are at a higher level or higher threshold than the funding that was provided by their insurance company.
So at this point, really, Bruce, people should be going through TDM.
Yes, as he mentioned, the reporting should go through the website that I mentioned, the damage.tdm.texas.gov. So that's where the local folks can go to report their damage to the locals and the state. We're putting it all into one single database.
And what can you tell homeowners they should be doing right now as they wait for you to maybe come to their home? Should they be doing lots of documenting themselves or what?
Well, we always recommend, whether it's for FEMA purposes or if it's for your private insurance organization, to take as many photographs as possible, document damages. If you're going to have a contractor come and do repairs, we want to make sure that you get verifiable receipts that include the contractor's name and phone number, and just keep record of everything that's done on the house, because whether or not assistance is provided by the federal government, the state, or the locals, we need to know what repairs have been conducted since the event.
I want to thank you for being here. We appreciate the media getting the information out. I want to say a special thank you. There are some men standing behind me that serve as Williamson County constables, and their deputies have literally been in the field for days, not only in the early hours of helping to rescue individuals, but our deputies literally are out right now doing some of those assessments and reporting those on the state site. Look, our first responders have worked tirelessly over the last many days, and so I'm thankful for our law enforcement in our city and out in our county government. I'm also thankful for our fire department, and you know, we have work ahead of us, but it's easy to do the work when you have so many hands that are willing to lift their hands and arms together to solve the problem. We're grateful for the federal assistance here, but the truth is, long before FEMA arrived, we removed thousands upon thousands of tons of debris because the people of Central Texas showed up. We've cleaned off the streets, we've cleaned up the neighborhoods a little bit. Now it's time to help our residents get their feet back underneath them and to be able to go forward. Thank you, guys.
How much power has been restored to some of these areas? Because I know when you're trying to work on a house that's damaged, don't want any power on it. Across the street, they have no damage.
Yeah.
So how much power has been able to be restored to some of those areas?
So the answer, and we had this conversation at lunch today, to our knowledge, power has been fully restored in Williamson County. However, if there was moderate to severe damage or total destruction of facilities, there are no longer meters there, or meters have been pulled for safety and security reasons. I can't tell you the number of residents. Again, we're looking at better than 1,200 structures with damage, and I would think the vast majority of those have electricity, but there are many that are without electricity as well, and will be for the days ahead.
And quick question, talking about structures. What structures took the most damage? Was there a common theme in that? And I don't know if you all need to weigh in on that.
Well, you know, obviously residential structures, you know, that's the largest volume. I had the opportunity, I'm thankful to Governor Abbott, he sent a helicopter up and we flew pretty early, but we have over 50 commercial properties that have suffered damage as well too, and some of those have suffered damage that was fairly extensive, and this may seem small to some of you, but on the eastern side of Granger, there were two farmers that literally had millions of dollars in farm equipment and their barns behind their homes that was damaged or destroyed. So the damage has been widespread, predominantly residential, but there's some businesses that have suffered significant damage and loss as well too. So.
How do you spell the last name of the 91-year-old man?
You know, can I put my glasses on to spell that for you? Because he was really proud that the judge was going to talk about him. It's on. I tell you what, it's on my phone, and I don't have my phone with me, but Andy will get that information to you. I just think that's
Do
an
you want to talk to us?
You know, he's currently in a rehab facility, and I think he's been moved up to the Temple area to be closer to family. But I will tell you this, the family just called a while ago and said, Judge, we came in from out of state and we need help cleaning up the property. And so I'm about to give the contact information, name and number, and I can assure you by the time the family from out of state gets there tomorrow, we're going to have resources on the ground to help them. And so that's just one example. Look, I know of another 2 ladies that have a family farm here locally, and they have over $50,000 worth of debris scattered all across their pastures and fields. So there's still a lot of work to be done. Thank you guys very much, and I'll get you that spelling. You guys have a great day.